Camaro back, or Camaro.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you didn't have a Camaro. Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting what it's even called?
The Mustang.
Mustang. Yeah, that's it. Camaro. All right.
No, I just ordered a Rivian, the SUV.
Yeah.
They're like not having good luck with their they're apparently kind of like getting more demand than they're not ramping up production fast enough.
Yeah.
Who knows when I'm going to get it, but they said sometime late this year. So I ordered it like a month and a half ago. So we'll see if it shows.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I went and bought a used one.
Yeah. Oh, you got the SUV, the Rivian R1S?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those things are so cool.
Yeah, they're great. The touch interface I'm like enamored with, like the iPad in there, because they actually built it. No one else has done this. They built it with Unreal Engine, the video game framework.
Oh, wow.
Well, not just video game framework, like they do. My brother, my brother does UX for Fortnite, and they use it in movies. And anyway.
Yeah, I went and looked at a used one, but it was marked up like it was like 130.
Oh, oof.
Yeah, I was like, pretty sure you just bought that for like 80,000 and you're trying to like flip it and make 50K off of it.
All right. We're live.
All right.
I'm going to share my screen. Oops, that's the wrong button. Let's share Google Chrome. There it is. All right.
Yeah, I'm stoked about that dev server.
Yes. Yeah, I am too.
I'm stoked about the dev server. I feel like it's finally like, I mean, we've had numerous passes at it. And I've hated the dev server for so long. It's like the part that bugs me the most about everything that we've done.
I mean, before Remix, I'd never seen anybody let you use their framework with Node or Cloudflare or Dino or any other thing, right? So like
that's what made it hard,
and that's why it's a mess.
That's what made it hard. Yeah. But I feel like the dev server that Pedro's working on now is finally like, yes, that's it. That's what we wanted to do the whole time. Because before that, everybody was just running their apps on Node.
So anyone watching, this is what we're talking about right here. This work. We're just trying to make the I guess there's like two types of DX, right? There's the DX of how does APIs feel to use and how does it feel to work in my code in 6 months from now?
Yeah.
And then there's the DX of like, I just typed remix dev the first time. What does it feel like? Yeah. And we're now hoping to focus more on that part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, what do you got? Do you have an agenda today? You got anything?
No, this is your meeting.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple of things that I would like to bump up the priority list, but.
Okay. It's funny. We got some feedback of like, why don't you guys review this before the live stream? So they can get more stuff on the roadmap. And it's like, well, no, the point of the live stream is so that we do this meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you have a couple things you want to bump up, why don't we just start with those?
Well, there's on the current roadmap, the bundling remix dev. I think it's all the way over in 4837. Make remix dev install as fast as possible. Yeah, that thing I want to like bump that up if we can. And Jacob right now is like,
he's doing this
down on the streaming defer stuff, and I wouldn't rather have him focused on anything else, but I would love to get some eyes on that. Like let's get moving on that, and let's get moving on the remix CLI.
Yeah. Where's we don't have a thing in here for remix CLI and those changes we've been talking about for months.
Yeah. Crap, I'm just remembering I was supposed to write up a proposal for the remix CLI, and I don't even think I did that.
Well, since you are the remix lead, we can put things on the roadmap without even having a proposal if you want it.
Yes. Put Remix CLI on here, and I will flesh this out. This will prompt me to flesh it out, because yeah, so basically what this is making the Remix package our CLI. So you can say npx remix, do whatever you want. Whereas right now you have to say npx at remix-run/dev, do whatever you want, because the CLI is in the Remix dev package. It's not in the Remix package. The Remix package was used for like magic imports and stuff in V1. And I don't think it currently has a CLI. So I think we could actually do this in V1. Like I was thinking for the longest time that this needed to be a V2 thing. I don't think it has to be. I think because the Remix package never had a CLI to begin with. So I think we can just ship this in V1 and it would just be fine. And then, yeah, and then the other thing is, this would just be like our only CLI. So we could deprecate like the create remix CLI, for example, and just use npx remix create, npx remix build, npx remix
dev, yeah,
launch,
all that
whatever.
stuff.
And then it all consolidates into one place. It's very short and sweet. Yeah, you can invoke it with npx, and create remix goes away.
Cool.
So that's all wrapped up in there. And I this is to your point earlier, that like DX stuff about like, what does it feel like to use it?
Yeah, you and I still need to get together and be like, what is our 3, 6, 12-month plan here for this year, I think. And I'm kind of feeling like that is like, that's it. It's that first, there's a couple other features like middleware and things that we've put here, and we're going to find more stuff in these proposals that we like. But I keep talking about, I want that first 15 minutes with Remix to feel fantastic. And all these kinds of things are a part of that. Yeah.
We could plan out like some more time if you want to just like sit down and talk about that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you think that would go better on like a more of like a 10,000 foot roadmap, like in Q1, in Q2, in Q3?
I think the big code term is theme. What's our theme of the roadmap for the next 6 months?
Yeah.
And then I think that helps us looking at these things, because at the moment we're sort of like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, put it on. Oh yeah, that's a good idea, put it on. Instead, it's like, the good idea is a part of our like 10,000 foot theme.
Yeah. I mean, truth is, they're mostly good ideas, right? All of the proposals are all pretty good ideas, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the theme is let's schedule some time and hash that out and figure out, get on the same page there.
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay. Let's go over to, so Matt did some work over in the React Router repo, where he converted like, I don't know, 100 issues that said feature on them, and he moved them all over into proposals. So we might just want to look at, what's this gonna
allow loader functions to be generators. I think I saw a use case for a JavaScript generator function once, but that was a long time ago, and I forget what it was. Probably doing like Fibonacci or some craziness. What is the use case here? Allow loader functions to be async generators. First time this function yielded a value. Most recently yielded value. Okay. Value from the loader would cause a final render. Stop requesting additional values. Oh, so it's kind of like a streaming mechanism.
It sounds like it. I'm wondering if our defer, like, what can this do that defer can't?
More general, more flexible way of managing the current defer await pattern for partial data. Async generators make stale while revalidate patterns straightforward to implement. Yield stale data immediately, then wait for the revalidated data before returning. Also be used for data that is streamed in chunks. Yeah. Loader could yield after each page of data is returned to the component compared to what was available each time. Interesting. So right now, our plan, and Jacob is literally working on this right now. Right now, our plan for defer is we've got like a custom content type for the returned response. And I think we'd probably still need that if we were to do this on the server. But yeah, we're just using what we've got. So anyway, the custom content type lets us, it's basically just a text stream of like, I think like new line delimited JSON or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, here's a JSON blob that's like the stale data. And then here's another one that's the new data, right? And then I think what we're doing on the server, I'd have to double check with Jacob on this, but I think what we're doing there is we've essentially just got like a function that you call whenever you've got the new bits that are streaming in. Or is it like an actual?
Well, so there's
like
a couple things at play here. So this issue is just talking about React Router itself, right? Ignoring Remix and a server and anything else. Right, we're in the React Router repo here.
Right. Well, but Fiona's talking about stale while revalidate, and so I assume they're talking about SSR. They've got SSR here. Anyway.
Well, what I'm understanding here is so the difference. So what this would enable that defer doesn't is you could say, oh, I'm landing at this. I'm client navigating. I want to show the data that I had last time I was here immediately, but I still want to call a function and yield the new valid. So as I can yield data immediately, then wait for the revalidated data before returning. So it's, to me, that's not like I'm going to defer some and await others. That's saying I'm going to await this, but I'm also going to yield a stale thing right now. And then I'm going to pop in an update as soon as I get the new stuff. Like people do this all the time with React Query and things like that, where it's like, click the back button, show what used to be there, and then revalidate on you. Is that, do you think that's what they're saying?
Yeah, I think, there's I think it's like you said, there are a couple of things here. Like there's two things. One is like, there's two possible states for this data, right? The stale and the actual. And then the other thing that we're talking about is there's like potentially multiple states of this data over time as it sort of streams in, right?
Yeah.
I think the stale while revalidate, I think, is the most common one. I think the stream is more common for like, a chat app, like chat messages streaming in or something, but that's the potentially like unbounded, right? We don't know when the end of this thing is. Here's a stream.
Yeah. So that's the second one here, I think. And defer already can do this, like send stuff that's ready and then, keep the spinners up until the other stuff shows up. But I think this one is saying, this is something new that generators could do that defer can't. And I'm not sure. What's that?
I was gonna say, to me, it actually seems like I kind of, tongue in cheek said, oh, I've only ever seen one use case for generators. I actually think this is a really good one. Because, it's doing like, this is kind of exactly what you want in the streaming case, or even in the deferred case, is you want to have, here's something immediately. I'm going to yield something immediately. And then, so we don't show a spinner or whatever. And then here's eventually after it resolves, right? Whereas right now we really just have promises. That's our async primitive, is that you give to defer, right? Is you give it either an immediate value or you give it a promise for something, that's going to show later, and you use a wait.
Yeah. So my concern here is, it's always my concern, what does this end up doing to the UI?
Well, I think on the front end, I think it's similar. Like, I think you still have an await component, for example, on the front end, because you got to figure out what, like, we could even represent this yielded value or the that there's a potential for some value in the future as a promise, right? And so you would get a promise on the, like, so let's say your loader is a generator, and we know that, okay, there's something else possibly going to come out of here in the future. For now, we have this thing right now, the thing that was yielded, but we know something else could probably going to come out of here eventually. So for now, on the front end, in use loader data, you get the promise for the thing that we have right now, or maybe even the immediate value if they yield it on the initial render, right? You get something right now, so you pass it to await shows it, great. But then use loader data like it's stateful, right? And so as the new value is yielded in the loader, use loader data is like, oh, got something else, change state, re-render. And basically, actually, I guess you wouldn't even need the await component in that case, because you would always have immediate values.
Yeah, I'm unclear if you would know that more values are coming.
Well, we would know that. We would have, in the generator function, we would have like some final state that you would yield when you're done, right? So you would yield 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm done. And then we would know, okay, we're not expecting anything else from there. You know, you're done. You would yield some special token, some special constant.
Okay.
But actually on the front end, I think what it changes on the front end is we don't actually need a wait. And I think that might be what Fiona is saying here.
Well, so if you don't have a wait, how do you put a placeholder there?
You just yield the placeholder, right? So in your loader, you would say yield placeholder. And then you would get to the client and you would say, well, this is the thing they want me to render. Here you go. It would never be a promise, right? And then loader would say, again, loader knows that it's this special type of response, or use loader data knows that it's special. That's the special type of response that could potentially yield something in the future, right? Because it hasn't seen the final constant yet. So, you know, we're going to keep that connection open. Oh, okay, we got something else. Set state. Then use loader data comes around and is like, okay, I have something else now. You know, I had that other thing before. Now I have something else. I'll just render that now. And repeat until we get the final thing, at which point we close the HTTP connection and we say, here's your final thing. Jacob is saying something to me, I think, in the chat. Let me see what he's saying.
Oh, yeah.
He's like literally working on this right now. The live.
we should just invite him in. Should we just invite him in?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Where is he?
Yeah, here. Let me get you in here, Jacob, if you want.
Generators would be awesome for SSE sockets. Each yielded result could be a payload. The client doesn't have to have a pending state as it's always open. Defer equals known up front, but slow to resolve. So send promise over wire for placeholder. Generators, as mentioned above, would be strange for defer. It would be conceptually a reduced spread of the returned results. This would mean there is no promise to wait on. Identifier that subsequent data is coming, leading to a bad, impossible loading state to identify the client during hydration when pending data hasn't yet resolved. Yeah, I think this type of thing would totally separate from defer. Okay, Matt and Jacob seem to think that this is a completely separate thing.
Yeah, Jacob's head's down on something, so he's not gonna jump in right now.
To me, on the face of it, it seems like an interesting idea. Let's maybe earmark this one to chat with the team about.
Yeah.
Because to me, it makes sense. So I'd love to know more about what they're.
Yeah, I don't know enough about generators in the first place. I just this line stresses me out a little bit because I'm really sick of apps and websites where like I'm looking at something and then it just suddenly changes on me. I wouldn't want to have a pattern where that's like the default thing that happens.
Well, but isn't that what defer and await is doing right now?
Well, that's saying I don't have this yet. Okay, now I do. That's different than I'm looking at a message and then I go to like click edit on it and then all of a sudden my set of messages changes on me underneath.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. 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 I see what you're saying. So defer and await is like, in your mind, is like, if something is deferred, we're acknowledging right now that we don't have this yet.
Yeah.
Show the spinner because we don't have this yet. show the loading state. Okay,
Yeah.
promise resolved. We awaited it. Now we have something. Ta-da.
We get
You're
it done.
saying this much more encourages the pattern of, I mean, it's stale, right? It's stale.
Yeah, I click the back button and I'm like, oh, actually, I want to archive this. And then I go to click archive, and then like the list changes on me, and then I archive something else.
Oh, I hate it. It's terrible. I agree. I
Yeah. And
totally agree with
so
you.
I'm just hesitant if that's the because the second point, we can already do this with defer and await. This point right here, I think you still can do that with defer and await. Like you just have stale data sitting on your server that you send immediately. But I wouldn't want to, and I don't know, I'm not saying that this is going to encourage that pattern and make it more of a default thing that you would see in a Remix app, but that's my concern, is making that so easy to do when I think it's kind of as a user, that UX drives me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you can also do that crappy UX that you're describing though right now with defer and
Yeah,
await.
you totally can.
And I
Yeah, you
hate
totally
to
can.
say that, but yeah, we've already given them the foot gun. Shoot your feet all day if you want. To me, the generator yield thing just represents infinite possible states, whereas defer and await represents two states.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's just
exactly.
a more generalized form of what we've created already.
Yeah, so I'd be very, because those states always end up driving the UI. And so I'd want to be very careful about, like, is that putting people into traps more often and building UI that like is popcorning all over the place and changing on people and kind of unknown, or is it better to have those two states? I'm ready, I'm not ready. Those would be my only concerns, but it looks interesting.
I think we could build defer await on top of generators.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a more generalized form of what we've already done.
All right, I'll tell you the truth. I don't want to learn generators. I'm just kidding.
Function star.
Yeah, I remember Andrew Clark once sent me a DM and he's like, hey, I thought of something really weird for streaming or something. He's like, I haven't shown anyone else because it's too weird, but I know that you might be okay with it.
Oh, was it
because you like weird stuff?
Because you like weird stuff.
This was like 3 years ago. It was funny. I'm like, dude, I don't even know. I can't even understand what you're showing me.
Generator, and you close the chat.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, get away. Yeah, I would say let's look into this. This looks interesting. Do you want to put a comment on it? I think you've got more thoughts on it than I do, and you could convey that better.
Sure.
I'll just link you the
yeah. Just pop it in my Discord
issue real quick. I sent it in your Discord.
Sweet, thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Fiona Wim.
I'm going to convert this. Oh, yeah. Good job, Matt, going through and converting everything to proposals. Very useful.
Yeah, Matt told me, what did Matt say? He just said to find the newer stuff. He said, where do you put it? No, I've lost.
Can you filter by?
Yeah, he's telling me how to filter it to get those ones. Choose last year, not last month, to see them all. All right. The past year. Yeah, we won't. Got it. Because those were converted, so they're old.
Yep.
Oh, they're not going to have upvotes, but anyway. All right. We talked about this one last time. Optional URL parameters, locked it because we shipped it. Remix route modules in React Router. This is, oh, yeah, this is cool.
Don't we kind of already have this? What more is this?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this one doesn't need to be in React Router. I think that you can just do this outside of it.
What's he saying? Instead of this,
import
this,
all these things and then assign them all. What if we just had a module thing that you could say here? And this is actually where I first started when I was first sketching out these new 6.4 APIs. I was like, oh, maybe we should have a way to load the module and kind of do that automatically for him and then get the loaders and stuff.
Okay. Wrap your default in a React lazy for you.
I wonder if he's got a note down here. Oh yeah, here we go. So it turns out it can be fairly easy to implement in user space using the same approach as create routes from elements. So he made a thing called create module routes.
There you go.
And he just made that API himself, like
There you go.
just solved his own problem.
There you go.
And then and then the module looks like this: export a loader, export your default, just like Remix.
Boom.
Yeah. I think very cool, but totally a user space thing, as he's kind of saying himself here.
Although I think it would be super useful to have a utility provided by default. Yeah, so what do we have right now? We have all the things that you can get in a route module on the route object itself. What he's saying is, I want you to do React lazy for me. Why does he want that? Does he want that because he's using Webpack and Webpack is going through and doing the code splitting for it?
Yeah, it's right now with the API in React Router, code splitting is all a very manual. Like you got to wire up these things and have like a React lazy and have a inline import statement somewhere that both your loader uses to get the module first. I think basically the value proposition here is, and I really like this, like we could add this function to React Router itself, create module routes instead of what we have today. Well, in addition to.
Well, create routes. Yeah, create routes from children, I guess is what we've got today. Or
yeah, create routes from children. We could have create module routes, and it's like, all right, here's what a module route looks like. Give it a path and a module, and then children. And then we could do the dance of Webpack and Vite are still going to do the code splitting with these inline imports like this, a dynamic import. The bundlers are going to code split that for us. But what we would end up doing is we'd end up having, just like we do in Remix, we'd have a loader that first checks like, oh, am I a module route? I am. I need to go import that thing. I need to call this module function before I can even call the loader, right? And then it'll call the loader from the module. So basically the question for me, it seems like, do we want to make it way easier for people to do code splitting of React Router apps?
Yeah, and to Rossipedia's point, he just pointed out in chat, React Lazy works with, you don't need a bundler. Dynamic import as well. You don't even need the bundler, right?
Yeah, so this encourages code splitting, which like we want people to do that in React Router or Remix. It's a lot less likely that React Router apps will code split if we don't provide something. Third-party modules are great, but our docs would need to like reference them often for them to get used. Yeah. If we put it right in the project, it'll get used like crazy.
Yeah. I was just thinking if we end up doing the component export rename, remember that one?
Yeah.
Then React.lazy breaks on route modules. So we would need like a remix.lazy that would handle that would be like, I'm going to do React.lazy under the hood.
Where are you're thinking if Remix used this API?
Remember export function component instead of export default in route modules for exporting your component?
Yeah.
That's kind of related here, right? Because what he's saying is if you do dynamic import from the browser inside of React.lazy is hard coded to just look for the default export of the module, right? So React.lazy is gonna take
I don't think
import.
That's the case.
Yeah.
React lazy, you say React lazy, and then you give this a callback. It doesn't care what you do in here. You just need a promise, right? I think it'd just be something like that.
Oh yeah, good point. I guess, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, React Lazy isn't aware of import. React Lazy is like, you're going to somehow resolve a module.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. It's like, oh, I've got a promise that resolved here. And what resolved out of here? Usually it's just people are just passing the import straight there, right? And so
Yeah.
it's like, well, I got this object. Let me check the default property on the object and see if there's a component on it. And we're just, yeah. So I guess remix.lazy would do this for them.
Well, you wouldn't even, I mean,
It would be like,
we wouldn't
I
need,
know that most remix route modules have this component export, and that's what React.lazy really wants. That's the component.
we
Because
don't even use React Lazy. We have our own route module cache and stuff, right? Because when you have dynamic imports, you end up, the bundles get a little bit bigger. So we did it manually ourselves on route modules.
yeah, I guess, yeah, it would be like React router.lazy or whatever. It would be.
I guess I'm confused why you think we need a wrapper. I don't think.
Well, just because it's just a tangent. We don't need to talk about it.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
it's just a tangent. No, the core point of this PR is, or this proposal is, I just want a module thing on the route object. And then
Oh, I think I know what you're saying now. So now you're saying, all right, if we add this create module routes function, we're going to have an expected module API in this app layout thing. And the component to render is going to be not the default. It's going to be on mod.component.
yeah, the thing that you import in his example, right? The thing where he says, oh, module, here's a function, go and import something. What is that? Right? What is that?
Yeah.
That
So
is right now, export default function, right? Where's his layout? Yeah, down below, export default function layout. That's the thing that he's importing in his slide.
Yeah. So when we take this module property from them, our function here, create module routes, we don't have to expose that dot component dance. We would just be like, all right, module is a function that imports this thing. So we would internally, call, dang it, I hit the wrong button. And now I didn't lose my stuff because it was just a document thing. We would await route.module, right? And then they still just get that simple import some path. And then we would do this for them.
Yeah, if they were using remix route modules, right? But in this case, Rossipedia, he's basically just like, he's on his own, right? He's like, I'm the one who built these route modules.
Yeah, I'm saying we would have a module interface.
Yeah, I'm the one who, yeah, he could invent whatever route module interface he wants.
Yes. Yeah, like right here.
And then say, yeah, okay, I'm going to put the component on the default export. I'm going to call this other thing foo and this other thing bar. And I'm going to do the import. And then when it gets time, like he could just import that thing, await it, pluck off the things that he wants, give React Router the names that it wants.
Oh, yeah. So if we wanted to bring this into React Router, we would decide what module interface do we want. And then their code could continue to just import the module. And we would do the dance to figure out where's the component, where's the loader, where's the action.
Yeah, well, you know what's interesting is right now, too, React Router wants an element for your route. It doesn't want a component.
Yeah,
that's an element. So that's another sort of wrinkle here is, you know, if we have this import or this module thing on the route object, once we get that import, I wonder what he's doing in his create module routes. He's probably doing a create element in there saying, okay, I got the default export. That's the component. Create an element from that. Okay, here, React Router, here's the element.
Yeah, just like we do in Remix.
Yeah.
So what's a bummer about this is there's a waterfall here where you first have to import a module before you can start calling a loader. And we don't have this constraint in Remix.
Yeah.
Because in Remix, we have a bundler that tells us, we have this thing called a manifest route, right? That knows, do I have a module? Do I have a loader? And so our loaders in Remix in the browser, when we match a route, we can be like, this has a component and it has a loader, and we actually fetch those in parallel. We don't have to wait for the module before we can call the loader. We can call both of them at the same time. Where this implementation, we wouldn't be able to do that. We would have to get the module first before we could call the loader. But that's one of the value adds of Remix and the compiler, is that it can make those kinds of optimizations. If someone wanted to do that, then this would need to be a Vite plugin. And then a Vite plugin or a Webpack plugin could like look at the file system, figure all that stuff out, and do everything that Remix does. I mean, you and I just kind of dug into a lot of implementation stuff, but I think the core question here is, do we want to make it easier and more prevalent in React Router apps, not Remix apps, in React Router apps, that code splitting happens? Because at the moment, I doubt it happens as much as it would if we added this. Could even be a separate package just in our repo.
Yeah, so this question, this whole PR was kind of an inevitability when 6.4 shipped. I'm just realizing that, because 6.4 put a whole route config in one spot.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. So it's kind of a practical regression of 6.4. It's like before, you just did normal component, waterfall, data loading, module loading.
Yeah.
Code splitting was easier. Now there's this problem of like, okay, how do I code split when all my routes are up front?
Yeah, exactly. How do you code split when in 6.4? That's a dang good question.
Yeah. And we did little experiments to like make sure it was possible and what it looked like. And it was like, okay, yeah, that's pretty good. And imagined, of course, an abstraction just like this.
Yeah.
I think it's a great feature for React Router, honestly.
Yeah, so do I. Create routes from elements. Create routes from special routes with module properties.
Well, and this really lends itself to the object API, because it's like, here's a path, here's a module, here's the children. It's a lot smaller.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I'm thinking about the tutorial, and I'm like, yeah, I'd rather the tutorial.
That's what I'm thinking about now. I'm thinking about docs and tutorial. Like, could you have a route? Could you use create routes from elements and have a bunch of route elements with a module property on them?
Yeah. See, so right here.
Yeah.
Contact route. Where do we add our? So we're saying, all right, create browser router. Here's your path. Here's your element. Here's your error element. Here's your import. And every time we add a new, let's see here, we add our index route. So we add another import. We add another. You know, these get kind of big, but I would love the way this tutorial would look with this API. Just say, here's the module.
Yeah, so with this API, the element, error element, loader, and action go away. And the import statement up top.
That goes away.
Oh, no, it doesn't, because it's in your children. So I guess that one gets a module as well. So that, yeah, okay, so that one will go away too.
Yeah, because you're just going to say path, module, children. I think those are the only.
Children import too. Everybody imports.
Yeah. So you don't have all the imports up top. They're right in
so
line.
Import up top and give us all your properties, or here's a module property and do that. So yeah, I don't actually think, I think we could just add this as like first class API in Remix.
Just add a module property to the route.
Yeah, normally we want an element, error element, action loader. Normally we want all that stuff on your route object. If you don't have it and you got this module property, that's cool too. We'll just use that thing either in the object config or in the JSX config. Like, that's fine. We don't care how we get it. We just, if you have this module property on your route object, we'll get that and we'll know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And we'll just assume that all these other things that we're supposed to get, the component, the error element, or the element, the error element, the action, and the loader, we'll just assume we get all that stuff from the module.
Yeah. Yeah. You gave me a module. I'm going to ignore the other things. Someone will probably want us to merge.
Warn them if it's like, hey, you gave me a module and you gave me all this other stuff. What are you even doing?
Yeah. Pay attention.
Maybe choose a different career. Discourage people from coding in the error messages. Clearly this is this is not your thing.
Maybe React Router isn't for you.
I don't know. Have you ever considered acting?
Oh man. Just be like hyper aggressive in all your error messages.
I know. Man, I was all excited to start programming, and then I got like these like passive aggressive like messages in the console. It just kind of made me feel bad.
You were the only person this year to hit this error.
Congratulations. We didn't think it was possible, but you did it. You hit the error.
I love how we get like new comments like as where 7 minutes ago, proof concept implementation here. Cool. I think I'm totally on board with this. Let's just add that module prop.
Yeah, well, what I was saying is let's not have create module routes, right?
Yeah.
That's a separate thing. That's a whatever. Let's just add it to the normal route module API, right? You still either give us an object, a JavaScript object, or you give us JSX elements. We've got the helper for if you want using JSX.
Yeah.
But we don't need another fork in the road.
Yeah.
How to create your routes. Let's just add it to
Jamie said something in here, and Jamie's one of those developers that whenever he talks, I'm like, I got to pay attention to this one.
Interesting opportunity to experiment with some improvements to Remix's route conventions. I described a few ideas to the team last year.
Oh, Jamie, we did it.
January. That could have been like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we're about to ship this thing. Well, I guess, yeah, this is kind of where it all. Yep, make dot paths use layouts. Yeah, we did it. We did it. We didn't go as far as, I'm not sure. I did look at this, and that's what led to our original proposal. So hopefully, Jamie, you like what we did.
Jamie's not watching.
I know.
He doesn't
Got better
care.
things to do. One of my favorite hoodies I bought when I went out to dinner with Jamie and his husband. It was crazy. I landed in San Francisco, hopped out of my Uber, and I'm like walking down Market Street with my bag. And there's Jamie Kyle walking right up next to me. I'm like, Jamie. So we went out to dinner. It was fun. Okay, let's do it. Transfer this discussion, create issue.
Yeah, it really is a inevitability with the 6.4 changes. Put all your routes in one place. How do I code split? Module prop. There you go.
All right, add module. And the dance between, like, before I can call my loader, I gotta get like your code split loading, your module loading becomes a part of your route loader. And that is a little tricky to do. I did it manually before we shipped, just to make sure that we could do an abstraction like this. I don't think most developers are gonna like catch the nuance there and like really, I don't know. It was a little tricky.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to have some like default format that we expect when we resolve that promise that you give to the module prop, right? And I would say this is a great opportunity actually to slide our component export in there, because we could say, okay, we're going to look for, module.component or module.default.
That is a hill you're going to die on with people. They're already talking about it in the live stream chat of like the component component export is still stupid. Use the default.
It's not stupid. Default exports are stupid. My word against yours. Who's right?
Let's make a Twitter poll. We'll see. Let's make a survey and only send it to people who like agree with us. And
I already tweeted it and it got like 100 likes, so I already know I'm right.
all right, we don't want to add a new function like create module routes. We just want to add module.
I don't get why people are so in love with default exports.
I think there's nuance there when it's a convention like this, but yeah, I also am not, just because it's
It was a
weird that the default
mistake.
export
It
is
was
optional.
always a mistake.
All right, cool. I'm gonna add this. Projects roadmap. And boom. Oh, I always like to add the little map icon up here. Boink. What the heck? Hey, we got one on the roadmap. We do. We should figure out our types. So we've got generics for use loader data and stuff like that in Remix, but for React Router, we were like, let's just put them all as unknown right now, because we wanted to wait until we folded it back over into Remix to see how it like panned out. I think it's probably time to put those back in, especially because we got some great contributions on the Remix side for the inference where you can just say type of loader. I don't know. I don't think I'm ready to have this conversation. This one's big. Let's see if anything else pops up, unless you want to dig into that.
No, I think adding generics to hooks, I think is.
Oh, this is Remix. Never mind. I wanted to get back over.
Like just do as. I know you don't want to, you adding a generic to a hook, you're like pretending that you're not cheating, but you totally are.
I've got some ideas.
Anytime you provide a generic that is typing the return value, you're totally cheating. You just see to use as. You know, this as that. That's exactly what you're doing. Accepting a generic and then, you know, type T and then saying, oh, this thing returns the type T from the generic that you gave me. That's exactly what you're doing. It's just you're glossing over the fact that you are saying, here, I'm using this function and here is the return value. That's literally what as is for. Yeah, but if we do some work up on the loader in Remix, that's how we can do type of. So you can either do the generic in Remix that we do, or you can say as type of loader, and then that'll work too, instead of like having to import a whole bunch of types from everywhere else. But yeah, our component thing from last week, if we add that back, and in React Router, we own at runtime all of the creation of routes. There's not like a bundler in the middle. Mm-hmm. And so I think we can do a whole bunch of not cheating whatsoever over there. But yeah, absolutely. I'm all in favor of that, 100%. Yeah. You know what I think people don't like as? I think, and it's legit, I think their linter yells at them. I think somebody in their company set up a linter that's like, if you ever do as, that's bad because you're cheating. And so they like APIs that don't force them to use as. But no, you're right. If we should make improvements to the on the other side. When we say create browser router and we handed an array of routes, like we could infer the loader and all of that stuff and pass them in as props like we talked about last time, and all that stuff would be type safe. It'd be up to them to decide what to do with the response, and that's where the as might have to land for them, but it's not our problem. Okay. Oh yeah, so right here, loader data generics. I don't know, I would love for somebody to fight me on this, by the way, because I'm I could be swayed because I don't know that much about TypeScript, but to me, that's exactly what it seems like. Is just like this stupid pattern that has evolved and people use it because somebody put something in the lint config.
Did we? Okay. So this is one that we talked about last week. Don't bring back route component props, just match params. And we were like, you know what? Maybe this, like, everything you get from hooks for the most part should just come in here. Well, we'll overload the element prop, but I don't think I added this to the roadmap. So I should probably add it to the roadmap. Because right here we said we like this, we're thinking an overload element.
Oh yeah, we talked about this last week.
Yeah, and this is where the type safety can come in too, because then anything we pass to the element callback, we're skipping React context, which is where types fall apart, and instead we're like, there's no indirection, so we can actually infer the types. So okay, I'm going to put this one on the roadmap too for React Router. And just so everybody knows, just because we put on the roadmap doesn't mean it's the next thing we're going to be working on. Like there's other things that that we know we need to be doing where some of this stuff might not be worked on immediately. So I'm going to call this
with a
context values that's good enough.
See, that's where I'm a little worried is that we just start piling stuff on there. And
Yeah, and that's where the RFC comes, right? Like there's something good here, let's do a RFC, we can hash out those details.
Hash it out, yeah. Here's everything. I'm Webpack.
Man, React context is awesome, and then but like types, man, types are all the rage, and without generics, React context doesn't let you do it. And what was the other thought that I had here? Not just match. Oh, that's right, types.
Matt is saying he wants us to take a look at client loader.
Ah, okay. Let's go over here.
I think it's like one word, client loader, something like that.
Oh man, I want this one personally, form navigation state. Okay, Matt, do you have a link to it? I wrote this one up before.
Maybe capitalize the L. Maybe it's case sensitive. I don't know. Oh, this is it.
Yeah, well, I wrote one a while ago. Yeah, router events, Chance, I'm with you. Hang on, let me see if there's, oh, I mean, we can read this one, but Ryan Florence, it's in Remix. Yeah, I'm in Remix right now.
All React router loaders are client loaders.
I swear I wrote one of these, but maybe I didn't post it here. All right. I always feel bad when I just summarize this stuff because I always assume, oh, I know exactly what we're talking about. But yes, they can't make use of client-side memory caching like React Query. So in Remix, the only way to maintain a client cache. So the use case to me is click the back button. And I just want to see what's there already. Browsers by default have the back forward cache that we don't have access to with our fetches in Remix. So when they click back, the only way to get that to be immediate is to use cache headers, right? Cache control headers. And maybe you don't want that. I don't know. So what they want to do is get initial data from Remix, take that initial data and push it into a client-side cache like React Query, and then read from there if they want to. And a great way to do that would be a client loader, where a client loader would get called before we go to the Remix server. So normally when you navigate, we're like, all right, gather up the loaders and call them all. Instead, we'd be like, does anyone have any client loaders? I'll call that instead. And then they can do whatever they want.
What is the benefit of doing it that way instead of keeping it in the browser cache? I mean,
Oh, no.
I guess it's a little faster that way. You don't have to initiate a fetch to get it out of the browser cache. Like
I don't know if it's faster.
Well, I'm just trying to like give me an example of like what state do you want to put in your client-side cache?
Yes, this is a good point right here. So a trick that I do is I use the very header and cookies to clear the cache, because that's the hard thing. When you use cache control, at what point can you clear the cache? So I'm a logged in user, I'm clicking around, I click back, I want to see my tasks immediately. I can't really put a max age on that because I might check a task, right? And so now I need to expire that. So the way to expire it with cache control is you need to vary on cookie. That's really the only reliable way to do it.
Right.
And then that blows away the whole browser cache of everything.
Right. So you're saying, well, I mean, in this case, the state that you described is user specific. So varying on cookie is fine.
It's fine, but the problem is you don't have granular control over what you're expiring. It's like I'm expiring a URL. So maybe I'm at /tasks.
Yeah.
And it's showing, and I only want to, and that shows both tasks and maybe it shows projects over on the side. And I only want to expire the tasks, not the projects too, for this URL. But with HTTP caching, I can only expire URLs. And so it gives them granular control over cache invalidation is really what I think it boils down to.
Well, but don't we, so the data request goes out to /tasks with the query param, right? I want the data from the tasks route, not the data from the projects route, right?
I'm saying the route has the tasks in the main page, and then in the sidebar is a list of projects. Same URL, both sets of data.
So same URL. So how many routes do you have on the page right now?
This single route displays both sets of data.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So, but do you see what I'm saying? If you had them in two separate routes, if you had a layout route that had the project sidebar, and then you had the tasks route, and it was like a pathless route, right? Then the data request would have a query param that distinguishes that, right? Say, okay, I'm getting, right? In that case, the HTTP cache could be sufficient. Well, anyway, it's maybe.
So the browser caching, you can clear only routes. You can have nested routes, so you do get some granularity. But when a route displays like 3 sets of data, like here's a set of tasks, I'm at a project, and the project is showing tasks, calendar events, and members. And I want to change a calendar event. All 3 of those sets of data are returned from the loader of this one route.
Yeah.
So they want to have granular control over expiring those 3 caches.
Yeah.
And so by having a client loader, you could get all your initial data from Remix and then shove it into your client-side cache. And then when you click the back button back to this project, Remix could be like, oh, you have a client loader. I'll just call that instead. And then it could just return all of its stuff. Be nice for optimistic updates too. Like replicache, that's actually that's a use case I've been thinking about. Using the replicache library is pretty cool. And you can do all your writes to that, but your initial server render could come from the server.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, it definitely gives people a lot more flexibility where to cache stuff. I guess I worry a little bit that you give people this and then that's all they want to use. And they
yeah,
forget
same.
forget about,
Forget about Dre.
well, forget about the HTTP cache, because it's like, that's the one that persists across page refreshes and domain navigation, outside domain navigation.
Well, now all your you got a bunch of loading code, you got a bunch of mutation code, you got a bunch of cache expiration code, a bunch of state management code, all in your client bundles.
Yeah.
Because you wanted some granular control over cache invalidation, where it's like, is that trade-off worth bloating your bundles with all of this stuff?
So would these client loaders, would they participate in the the automatic revalidation stuff that we do?
Yeah, the way I imagine it is you'd have like client loader.
Or is that the distinction, that they don't participate in that?
So I would imagine we'd give them access to the server loader. I don't know what we would call this part, but like, and you could return server loader, right? And so that's the default. That's the current behavior of Remix, is just go to the server.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would imagine Remix would do is it would call the client load if there's a client loader. Yes, sorry, your question is revalidation. I think the implementation that I would imagine, if the module has a client loader and it's a client-side navigation, then, or a revalidation, we would just call the client loader. And that's that. And then they're in charge of deciding if they want to actually go to the source of truth.
Yeah, if you have a client loader and we need to revalidate you, we'll just call the client loader now. We won't even call the server loader, because you have, by defining a client loader, you are indicating you've got some fancy client-side cache that we don't even know how that thing works, because all we know about is the backend and HTTP. So you're doing something fancy on the front end. So we're not even going to call the server loader. We'll give it to you if you want to call it. I mean, honestly, we don't even need to give it to you. You've got it in scope, right? Like, you've got you right next to that client loader function. If you've got a server loader, you've probably also got another function in that same file called loader, right?
Okay.
What I'm saying is, yeah, you've probably already defined it right there. Yeah. So you literally can just call that thing. Oh,
They
no.
can't.
Sorry. No, of course you
Yeah.
can't. No, it's on the server. Yeah. Sorry. Little brain fart there.
I'm going to
Okay.
tick everybody off and I'm going to export function component.
Oh, no. They're going to crucify you. They're going to be mad at you now.
So here's our loader data. And then they're going to be like, query, or I haven't used React query. Use query. And then I know that it has like an initial data thing. It's going to be something like that.
Yeah.
So they're going to say use loader data. Hey, give me that. And then they're going to shove it into their thing. And now they can, and then this is going to be like, oh, that's right. It's like a, whatever. There's like a query client. Right. And so now on transitions and revalidations and everything else, we're going to call their client loader and they're going to pull it from their query client. I don't know what these all look like, but
so client loader basically, like, overrides our default calling of the server loader.
Yeah, we no longer do that data request. We just
Yeah,
call
we
it
don't
client
even do
loader.
it. We just do it here. We'll keep it all local. You can cache stuff client side. Sounds great. And then if you, for some reason, decide that cache should be blown away, you can blow it away and you can call the server stuff yourself. I think
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I've wanted this in the back of my head literally since before we even launched our licensed version of Remix. It's kind of been like in my head, like, I bet we're gonna need something like this. It'd be huge for migrations too, right? Like, come over to Remix, just rename all your loaders client loader.
Yeah. Because I'm already doing all my
Yeah.
React query stuff.
Um,
It's not called React query anymore. It's TanStack query.
it's cringe stack query. Um,
How dare you name? I'm going to rename React router to FJI router.
So I keep mentioning this because I'm just so happy about it. But Tanner's uncle is my 2 doors down neighbor, and
Oh, nice.
I keep meaning to stop and ask him, does anybody call him Tan?
Tan the man.
Tan the man. So here's my big concern with this. Is as you know, one of my big motivations with building Remix is I am sick of using crappy websites.
Dude, they're gonna build crappy websites with it. I guarantee you that.
I hate crappy websites. And every time I have to use the internet for my kids stuff, for my work stuff, for my insurance, like whatever it is, it just sucks and everything falls apart. And this is a giant like pit of like, oh, do you want your app to get out of sync with your database? Here's how to do it. Add a client loader.
I mean, they say that caching is one of the hard things in computer science. Like, it's not, they don't just say that. Like, it is. It's actually very hard to get it right. And this is essentially like, here you go. Here's a cache.
And one of the reasons people don't realize that Remix is good at super dynamic stuff is because it looks like you don't have any of this cool caching, revalidation, synchronization stuff.
This happens automatically.
But we do have it. We've just abstracted it so well that you don't have to think about it. Like it always goes back to your server to revalidate. It like by default, it revalidates everything. It's basically impossible if you're just using the straight up Remix APIs for your app to get out of sync.
Yeah.
The one way that you can get out of sync is you add your own should revalidate to a route, and that has bad logic in it. It can also get out of sync if you do optimistic UI, but that automatically fixes itself. So really, there's only one way to actually get out of sync, and that should revalidate. This would add, I guarantee you, everybody who uses it, their app is going to be out of sync some way or another.
Well, I mean, maybe it's just a question of what we emphasize, in the docs and in the examples, right? Like, client loader. This thing is an advanced. Oh, I'm ready for the advanced. No, really, you really probably don't want this, except for, oh, it can help out in this like little use case here, Yeah. Most of the time, just use loader, use action, be happy. Have your go, enjoy life.
So you know what comes next, right? Client action. So here's a use case. You're using Supabase.
Yeah, or Firebase or whatever.
Yeah, or Firebase. These things that work on the server and in the browser with the same API. Pretty cool use case. You can your server is gonna initially render that on the server, but then as the user navigates around, maybe the user is actually closer to the planet scale database that you're talking to, or the Supabase database, right? So now instead of having to make a hop to your Remix server and then to Supabase, you go straight from browser to Supabase. I think that's totally valid. And so
Yeah,
you'd want to
it is valid. Yeah, it is valid.
tie the loop with server actions too. So now you can do your mutations right there in the browser as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally valid. It's like you said, it just means a lot of it just introduces a huge potential for people to abuse it.
All right.
Build crappy apps with it. Or amazing apps. Maybe we should look at it that way. Look at the upside, not the downside.
Oh man, we've seen so many. I got that Twitter thread. Literally every time I have to like go outside of my like 3 websites that I use daily and like go use the rest of the internet, it's like, oh my gosh, it doesn't even work. Okay, what are we doing? We want to add this?
Yeah, I mean,
Are
I
we
think
not ready to make a decision?
there's definitely a place for it. Yeah, there's definitely a place for it. But it's like you said, it goes with client action.
Yeah.
So
Edmund, the creator of Remix Guide, he's in the chat saying, should revalidate also feels like part of client loader? I think should revalidate already only, well, anyway, that can go in the RFC and we can figure that out. But should revalidate is only called client side. So I think that doesn't change, that we still just say, call that first before we call the other stuff.
yeah.
I'd like to see this. I guess Matt is also the one who's like, hey, I want to see it. So if you're down, I'm down.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm down. Client loader. Client loader.
You remember our whole big discussion with the Hydrogen team about doing mutations directly to their GraphQL API versus going to the Remix server and then worrying about.
Well, see, and that's exactly right, right? Like if we had this, we wouldn't have had that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And they still would have had the same bugs that they had in Hydrogen when they shipped it.
Yeah.
They would have been like, oh, client loader, sweet. And they would have been like, but your URL is out of date with your data on the page. Remember, that was the.
Yeah. I think it's there are use cases you can't get without this that are valid. And so I think we should add it. But yeah, like you said before, the docs need to be very clear of like, hey, don't come talking to us when your app state gets out of sync with your database. You did this.
No, they won't come talk to us. They'll build it and then their users will suffer. And then
I'll have to use a website that's a Remix web app. And then it's going to get out of sync and I'll be like, oh my gosh. And then I'll look at the source map and I'll see client loader and I'll be like, why did we add this?
Why did we do it? Client loader and client action. Yeah. Like you said, it's we can't stop people from doing it. So.
And they could still just like, they could skip stuff completely, right? Today, not even export a loader and just do all fetchers and fetch on their own, or it's not even use Remix.
Yeah. This is totally just a documentation thing, right? This is a philosophy thing, right? We're not going to restrict you. We're not going to put handcuffs on you. We give you the tools, do whatever you want. But our examples and our docs and our whole philosophy is going to steer you in a different direction. And there's going to be like one little corner of the docs about client loader and client action. And you're going to be like, why isn't this stuff more prevalent? Well, it's not prevalent because usually you don't need it, not unless you're doing very specific stuff.
Yeah. Like Linear. Linear is replicating your entire team's database to IndexedDB.
Yeah. It's
You
incredible.
can't do that in Remix today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. So we should not
Yeah.
stop incredible teams from doing incredible things. So
Yeah.
we should absolutely add it. But the vast majority of people, we should steer in the other direction.
Yeah. You are not allowed to use this API unless you have at least 10 years of web development
10
experience.
years of web development experience.
Oh, man.
That'd be funny, actually. Like the build runs, and then it's like, we noticed you're using client loader. Please answer this question before we complete the build. It's like this computer science question. They're like, wait, what?
Yeah. First balance this tree.
Please upload your resume to
No. It'd be a caching question. Like we could throw like a gnarly cache invalidation exercise at them. It's like, nope, you're not ready.
Cache invalidation. Please connect your LinkedIn so we can look at your work history.
If we quizzed them on like the thing that makes it a foot gun or not, then like we're sticking to our motto, our slogan of build better websites. And it's like, you're going to build a better website without this feature.
Yeah.
Oh, that cracks
And
me
then
up.
the guys who are the folks who are building linear, they'll just look at it and they'll be like, I could do this. And they'll build something awesome. They'll be like, yes.
Oh, man. All right.
Though, you're writing the docs. You bear the burden of this.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to make a note in here.
We all do, but mostly you.
Docs need to be clear. This will break your app. 95% confidence interval, interval confidence, whatever. I just forgot all my statistics words. It is interval, isn't it? Confidence, 95%.
Dude, statistics was the only math class that I ever got a C in. I like all through high school, college, I got A's in all my math classes. And then I hit statistics and I got a C. And I was like, I guess I just don't get statistics.
There, we'll say with the R squared of 0.95.
Bad times for me.
My economics degree started really fun, and then all of a sudden it just turned into math and stats, and I was like, what the heck happened? It was weird.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Bell curves. Ugh.
All right, what did we do? What did we do? We add module property to route and client loader, not versus. What?
Client loader and client action.
Yeah. Just have a competitive spirit.
Yeah.
All right. And I told you I've got a couple of, well, we talked yesterday about the package names things. I need to write that up. I also kind of just want to not worry about it anymore either, but yeah, I know our team is concerned, like, guys, this isn't, if you're only putting 1 or 2 things in a week, but you know what? We already got stuff here. We got
stuff is shipping. Like we're getting stuff done. It's not like nothing's happening.
Yeah, we're actually getting tons of stuff done. Yeah, I'm pumped. Our team is, I don't think we're at our complete stride, but we are shipping way faster and better than we were a few months ago.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. I gotta hop off. I'm gonna be on something else in 10 minutes.
All right.
So thanks, dude.
Adios.
Yeah.